Welcome to An Hour to Give. I'm Sam Laprade. This week we're featuring Options Bytown, and we're celebrating with Options Bytown as well here on An Hour to Give. And I'm so excited to welcome our two first guests, John Brisebois and Susie Peters. Hello to you both.
Hello,
Hi.
Sam. How are
This
you?
is a bit of a reunion for you both, right, John?
It is indeed.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your involvement with Options Bytown.
Well, from the beginning, I was a relief worker. Started in April, a couple of months after we opened the buildings, and Susie was one of the only two original tenants from there. They're still living with us, and she was the first lady that I ever spoke with as a relief worker. So that was the historical significance there.
Wow. Would you have ever thought, Susie, all these years later, that you and John would still be connected?
No, because I've seen a lot of staff come and go in 35 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what does it mean to you, Susie, to be part of Options Bytown?
It's given me a place to live in safety. Between 16 and 23, I was diagnosed with 2 mental health disorders. And just getting to know that I'm not going to be working for my adult life. I think I was 30 when I moved in, when we started. And that took a lot of getting used to. But for me, options fell out of the sky. I was in a group home, an adult group home, and we were going to be, a bunch of us were going to be graduated back out to the rooming house circuit, which is not safe for a single woman. I've made the circuit a few times. Back in the day, all these places were called post-psychiatric boarding homes. There could be 100 people or 12 or 6 people. And I'd made the circuit twice, along with the hospital, and it just was a revolving door. And then one day, this lady named Denise Roberts came to Martha's and told us all about options. Could we live on our own, take care of an apartment, take care of ourselves, do our grocery, but needing some support on site. And that was like a miracle to me. Of the 12 of us at Martha's, 4 of us moved in right from the get-go. What I liked the best is that I could lock my unit, I could use the bathroom, and there was no one else using the bathroom.
I hear you, Susie.
Yeah. And it was like my own little safe place.
Yeah.
I
love that. And I don't know if you've noticed, she used the word safe a lot. Susie sharing that word safe just hits me in my heart, because I find people that use the word safe at some point probably didn't feel safe. No. What does it mean to you, John, to hear her speak about options being so safe?
Well, we've heard that for many, many times from clients since the beginning, and so and we have at the Cumberland building. Susie doesn't live there; she lives at another building. We basically have a 24/7 security on call in case of things. But we've had very, 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 in 35 years, we've had almost no violence. We've been very lucky. There's been very, very few altercations at all, and they were nothing, major. So, yeah, and of course it's the market too, which can be dangerous, and so we've been spared that, and so yeah, a lot of people feel safe. Yeah.
Let's step back a little bit, because there might be somebody listening going, okay, that's great that Susie's at Options Bytown, but what is Options Bytown? Take us back, John.
Well, I mean, it was started by a Jesuit monk named, a Jesuit brother, named Ralph Pasternak, back in 87 and 88 when they first met. And it was to have permanent housing for people who just couldn't keep housing for all kinds of different reasons. And the first thing, of course, was the subsidized rent, so that the rent costs were minimal, and just to give people a secure place to live. And those were the first discussions of the boards that they had. That was the raison d'être of the operation, of the organization.
It's wonderful. And Susie, when I hear that, I think Options Bytown was way ahead of its time. We hear about a lot of organizations now that are undertaking this. What is it like to be one of those very first tenants and be part of Options for 35 amazing years?
Well, it's sort of like being a pioneer.
I love that.
I try and get involved in things that are current. When John mentioned the housing support, the rent subsidy, most of us on that couldn't work for mentioned reasons is we didn't have a big income. We were lucky to get welfare or ODSP, and even then rents were out of reach, which is why most of us lived in rooming houses. But being able to get an income and live in a safe place. Another thing I like is that we had the choice as tenants to interact with the housing support staff or not. Other programs you had to involve. I made use of the people there. Every time I came out of hospital, I needed to relearn or get the confidence back in my living skills and my life skills, boundaries, things like that. And there was always someone to go through a workbook with me or just plan what we're going to talk about and accomplish things that way. I've just achieved my 40 years of sobriety, and I could not have done that living out on my own somewhere.
Susie, you just made my whole day, my week probably. That's incredible. That's incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And when I hear about, obviously that's an incredible achievement, incredible milestone, but I also heard dignity of choice in there.
Dignity is something that's
Yeah.
it's always something that I've noticed, that there's always a need for the clients to retain their dignity in all kinds of situations. That's something that I've spoken about many times throughout the years. It's a key word there.
We know that Susie's life has obviously been richly contributed to by Options Bytown. How has it changed your life?
Well, myself personally, I was a social worker for 10 years, and then I'm the finance officer, but I still, I keep abreast of the situations of people, and it's just a very, very inspirational thing. There's two people that have been living with us for many years, and they were born into very bad childhood situations, and they managed to work all their lives and live on barely work and get ODSP. And one of the gentlemen was featured. He used to work at Algonquin in the cafeteria. Was featured in a long Ottawa Citizen article probably in the 90s. He's retired now, and they're very courageous people. So. It's just very inspirational, and it makes you feel very lucky. It makes you feel lucky.
Absolutely, because I think Options Bytown has almost created a community within a community. Do you see it like that, Susie?
Yes, and even tenants that have moved out, a lot of people are still in contact with them,
Right.
and a lot of them would like to come back, but that's a whole different process.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think, when you feel safe, when you've got that type of housing, and especially in this climate we're in, John, to have this type of opportunity for people, the demand must be great.
Oh yes, there's a long waiting list there. It's all run now as opposed to the time that I was a worker in the 90s, by the Ottawa registry. People go through that system, And so, and I don't know the numbers there, but the list is quite long, and people can wait years,
Yeah, and we're just so glad to see that people are connected to Options Bytown. Tell me a little bit about your everyday. What's an everyday for Susie like?
I read a lot. I like to go out to coffee shops to meet friends. I like to meet people one-on-one, because then you can give each other the attention, right? We just started a painting class at Gilmore.
Wow.
And we're hoping to continue it because it's really fun. We also have a craft group once in a while for people that are shy to do art. Just relating to what John said, I've learned along the way that I'm very blessed to have grown up in a loving family. mental illness is not particular to any group of people. And I find the care at Options continuing from what my family started me off with.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and Susie's in the minority there because the great majority of our clients have had, terrible childhoods, Yeah.
I learned about this in the hospital, in recreation groups, everywhere. And that's a bonus for me. And I try to be loving with my friends. I like to meet people where they are, because that gives them their dignity.
Yeah, I mean, the words we've heard today, dignity and safety, and just I hear collaboration, I hear community.
A social environment as well there,
What do you think is up for the next 35 years for Options Bytown?
Well, historically we've had 2 expansions of our services because we have a building at 380 Cumberland and a building at Gilmore. But now we have offices in different subsidized owned houses by Ottawa Community Housing. And we have a social worker in those houses, in those buildings to deal with issues there. That was an expansion that started in 2000. And in 2015, we have a Housing First case manager system that we use, program that we have. Austin, the next guest, works there. So those are big expansions. So it's hard to predict, what's going to happen. We've grown so much. We've grown so much, like just the funding.
And you've seen these incredible changes happen over the last number of years as well. Has it been fun to see that change?
Yes, it's good to see that we had one team in the beginning.
Yeah.
2 housing support workers would be at Cumberland and 2 at Gilmore, and in 2 weeks they switched places so that they could try and keep up continuity of care, and that went along for quite a long time. And then that formula seems to have, it's like shuffling cards.
Right.
They're not sure where they are unless they check their work phones.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experiences with Options Bytown. You've inspired me today, by the way, Miss Susie.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. And John, your commitment over 35 years is remarkable as well. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Sam, for having us.
Absolutely. Susie Peters joining us, and John Brisbois talking all about Options Bytown. The fun is just going to continue as we celebrate 35 years of Options Bytown. Stay with us on An Hour to Give. I'm Sam Laprade, and this is An Hour to Give. This week is all about Options Bytown, and I'm going to welcome our next 2 guests, and that is Austin Ward and Jim McNeil. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
It's wonderful to have you here. Austin, I'm going to start with you. What's your role with Options Bytown?
So I'm a housing specialist. I work with the case managers from the Housing First program. Housing First is you need a home base, like your home, before you can start working on the other issues you need. So I work with those case managers to find different units for the individuals to go see, to see if they want to. It's up to the individual to choose if they want to live there, but to go choose a unit. I also work with landlords and explain our program so the landlords have a better idea of what we do and how we do it, how our case managers go see the clients once a week. They have plans to work with the clients. So that's what I do.
So it's a really important role.
Yes.
I mean, I think about everything. I mean, there's not a day where I don't read a newspaper, watch TV, or listen to the radio and hear about the housing crisis in the city and in this country. So your role is crucial.
Yeah, it's, the housing crisis has made things a little bit harder, but we have a great group of landlords that we work with. I often get calls from our landlords saying, hey, I have a few units we're working on. I wanted to give you first choice, because we have great relationships with a lot of landlords. So we're very lucky in that.
That's great. And I know you know that kind of luck.
Yes.
So Jim, tell us a little bit about your involvement with Options Bytown.
Well, I was at the Mission there off and on for about 2 years, using their programs and stuff like that. And I saw the option Bytown van sitting outside one day and asked questions, and all of a sudden I got a call from my housing person from the mission saying that Option Bytown wants to have an interview with me and set me up. So I had one nice lady first as my who was helping me, and then she moved on. But I got Allie and Austin here were helping me along the way, and it was it was nice to get that part because I didn't know anything about any other facilities outside of where I was.
And in the kind of success stories that you would have with someone like Jim, is that what drives you? Is that what gets you out of bed every morning, Austin?
So for me, I lived in Ottawa community housing. I lived in a rent-to-geared income. I went back to school. I got my bachelor in social work. I got my Aboriginal studies. And I wanted to make a difference in people's lives because people made a difference in my life. And when the Options Bytown came up, I applied for the job instantly because I wanted to help homeless people and people who were chronically homeless find a place to live because someone found me a place to live when I had the same sort of issues. So I feel very honored and lucky to work for Options. I love my job.
I can tell. I can tell. The minute I met you, I just like you were just glowing in terms of the work. So it's comes through, believe me, big time. And when I think about, we spoke to our last guest, Susie, about really that word safety, and I think about not only safety in terms of physical, anything physical harm, but I think about emotional. I think about social security. I think about just that spiritually as well. Just that you would be safe in your own space.
Oh, big time. Yeah, it is, that word is very, very good for me because it was very hard for me where I was before. I did not feel safe. I felt threatened all the time. Now here, I feel safe. I can, like Sue said, I can lock my door. Boundary issues are still an issue with me, and trust issues with people. Dealing with my addiction for the past 40 years, so 20 years is the worst. But now since I'm here, it gives me that opportunity to get out of my addiction in my safe zone.
Tell me about the very first night you locked that door. Do you remember?
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Well, big time. I remember it was as soon as they said you can move in November 16th. It was like, okay, I don't have a heck of a lot to put in here, but I go on Tina and Brad, I said, can I borrow a few things to bring over to my apartment? And I literally slept on the floor there for the first day or two because it was just that part where I felt it's mine, it's me, it's my area where I can control myself.
I love that. And walk me through to get Jim to that point where he's locking that door and he's feeling safe and in control of his own life. What does it take to get him there from the moment he sort of arrives at Options Bytown?
So I'm not the case manager, but they meet with a case manager. That case manager then tells me about the client. I go and I search everywhere, high and low, for units. Units have a maximum AMR of $1,347, so I look for units for that amount and below. And Jim had actually a great story. The place where he's housed now, he had actually been turned down for that unit 2 months before. That unit didn't actually meet AMR, it was $1,400, but I have a great relationship with the landlord, and they lowered the rent to meet our AMR, and 2 months later, Jim got the exact same unit he had been denied for 2 months earlier.
Okay, can we just celebrate for a second? That is such a great story, and I'll tell you why it's a great story. Because one, I think the landlords all the landlords are kind of put into one big pot, and they get a bit of a bad rap. So this is a good news story, not only for Jim, which we love, and for you and your work, but I think we have to say thanks to that landlord, right?
Yeah,
yes.
I agree. I
Yeah.
mean, there are some landlords that love us, and I'm not joking. They'll be building a new building, setting up, redoing units, and they'll call me. And I actually got a call 2 weeks ago from a landlord who's like, I'm redoing this unit. Are you interested? I brought 2 of our clients over, and he's already offered them units. So we really have a great group of people that work with our clients. I think the fact that our case managers put so much into it as well really makes the difference, right? Because they see our clients every week. You know, I see our clients as often as possible as well. I feel like Options is set up to have people succeed. And honestly, like I said, I love working there. I have 2 jobs there.
And I think it's really, that's wonderful. And I think it's really important. You've brought up a really important point that, and we keep talking about, you know, Jim locking that door and how important that moment is. But to get to the point, because you want to set somebody up for success. So all that pre-work to get to that moment means that you're going to stay there, Jim, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that's the best part. Like, I can actually say home for once. And that was the hardest thing for years. It's like people would say, "Where do you live?" It's like, yeah, I couldn't really tell them. So, and now I can just say, hey, I still don't give them my address, but I live over at the West End. I've got my own place. I go home.
Go home.
Home. I can
So
actually.
home means something to you.
Oh, very much. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's somewhere where I feel safe, secure, and it's my personality of who I am. 'Cause I add things as I go. Oh.
Talk to me a little bit about the addiction part of your life and how that sort of led you to come to Ottawa.
Okay, so I've been in addiction for 40 years. I started in high school. Well, before that too. I grew up in a family where there was always beer somewhere. So I learned that way there, but I was a functioning addiction person for about 20 some odd years. Worked every single day, had a great time, and then things got tough, and got into the CMHA down in Barrie and did their program. Then I got into a little bit of difficulties down there. My addiction got really bad. And my addiction counselor down there, she said, okay, you can't keep coming back to the area where your addiction is. She goes, you got to find something different. So the closest thing, because you know that it's time consuming to get into a lot of treatment places these times. It could be 6 months to a year before you can actually get your foot in the door and you're on heavy addiction. So she found the Salvation Army up here. And came up here January 5th, 2019, in a blizzard storm, and enjoying my life up here. Used the treatment centers up here, the Salvation Army and the missions, and I'm still using the mission as their treatment center, not the treatment center, but their programs there. I use the day program, plus I have my own addiction counselor there too. I can call anytime. Plus I have peer support through Option Bytown, so I've got a lot of people I've got support for, but yeah,
I just pictured a little army around you and really supporting you. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. And the reason I asked you is because I think the housing first model that we speak about all the time, I love that there's a face to that in terms of get me somewhere safe, let me lock that door, let me take control.
Jim has a job now too.
That's amazing, Jim. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm starting just part-time work just to start with.
That's
so,
okay. That's great.
But gets me out of the door every day.
I love that.
Yeah, so it's just nice, and I get to meet nice people, and I get to see like to associate with people in my neighborhood that I usually probably would never do.
Yeah, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
The housing first model.
Yeah, it shows that the housing first model does work, right?
Oh, yeah.
He feels safe, and now he's working again. So
It's wonderful.
yeah, it's full circle.
I love it. Thank you so
A lot better on
much.
my addiction every single day. So, and being with these guys, it gets easier and easier all the time.
And we heard from Susie celebrating a milestone of 40 years. That's inspiring as well, and
Very much,
I
yes.
see that in your future as well. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me, and thanks for sharing your story as well, Austin. Austin
you.
Ward and Jim McNeil joining me today on An Hour to Give, featuring Everything Options Bytown. Don't worry, we're not done. Come on back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here on An Hour to Give. It's all about options, Bytown, and I'm so excited to welcome to the show Hanny Ibrahim and Chantel Herchebes. Thank you so much for joining me. Appreciate it very much. Chantel, let's start with you. What's your role with Options Bytown?
I've got two roles.
Yeah.
So I'm a double agent. I work as a peer support worker for the PACE program, and I also work as a peer facilitator for the Buried in Treasures program, which is under the hat.
Okay. So I want to learn more about that in a minute. So we're going to come back to that in a second. Hanny, what's your role?
I'm the manager of community and partnership development at Options Bytown.
And so tell me, what's an everyday look like for you?
Oh, it varies. It's very different. So right now I'm overseeing two of our newest programs, the Peer Assisted Community Engagement Program, which we're here to talk about, and then the hoarding assistance team that Chantal just mentioned, as well as any kind of other programs that go over the other teams that we have in terms of partnership building and community development.
That's wonderful. So you're busy.
Yes.
It's a busy,
Yeah.
busy role. So Chantal, talk to me a little bit about some of the programs that you would work on. How did all this come to be?
It came to me because I'm a tenant leader in an LCH building, Ottawa Community Housing Building, and they were looking for someone, 6 of us, to work with the resource centers to work with options and be a liaison between the people that live in those communities and the resource center at Options Bytown. So we it was fun.
Yeah.
And my first one was because I did a research. I was part of a research for hoarding.
Okay.
And they asked me after the research if I wanted to facilitate the Buried in Treasures. It's a peer-led. So I said yes. I had training, and I also had experience with facilitating. So it's a 16-week program, and I've been doing it since starting my 6th year now.
That's amazing. Wow, that's a long time. So walk me through the 16 weeks. What do people learn in that time frame?
They learn skills to be able to gain some type of control over their issues with either clutter or hoarding habits, and it's well done. They have to read the book, the Buried in Treasures book, and week after week we read the book, we do exercises, they learn new skills, they understand more their relationship with either acquiring or relationship with keeping stuff and everything that goes with it. You know, because some of it is, it's emotional, and we have our own stuff. Everybody's got their own stuff. So and after that they graduate, they're happy, there's the aftercare, so they can go every 2 weeks to another, to a program that is to continue their success story with hoarding. So it's fun.
What I love about Options Bytown, and I see it every time I get a chance to speak with anyone, is that you really do. We've used the phrase already today. You set people up for success. This isn't about a program and then we're like, okay, you're on your own, right? This is about that supportive housing, that way of connecting. And I love the program that Chantal was just talking about, because it really makes the whole community better. If someone's acquiring and keeping things, it doesn't make it safe for them living in that unit, and sometimes it wouldn't make it safe for maybe people living in that apartment building.
That's right.
Yeah, so talk to me a little bit about how important that program is.
So this program does support a lot of our clients who are across the city of Ottawa as well. So it's not just limited to those that are in our catchment or specifically in our boundaries, geographical boundaries. But so this really gives them the chance and support through our team. So we've got Chantal as a facilitator for the workshops. But we also have a case manager who also supports clients on a one-on-one basis to provide the steps, the plan to get them to where they want to be. That would create a safe space for them in their own home and also help declutter and prevent them from acquiring even more. And so it's a cognitive behavioral therapy approach that they use. So the clients are engaged in every step of the way, and they have to be active and willing participants in the process to make
And
an
it's
impact.
not about, a program happening to someone, it's about someone participating in a program, right? How important is that differentiation?
Control. Control over your own life. Control over, okay, because as soon as they come in, they're all afraid that we're going to, well, you have to get rid of everything. And it's like, no, you don't have to get rid of anything if you want. But it's to understand. So they kind of, well, okay. Then they warm up to the process, and then I stopped acquiring. Or I gave this to the Salvation Army, or I gave this, and they're doing what they need to feel safe in their own home, and also to be great in their own space, because clutter, you don't have space. Your kitchen is not a kitchen anymore. The bathroom is not a bathroom anymore. Your bedroom is not a bedroom anymore. Now it's like, I have a bedroom. I can see my bed. I can cook in the kitchen. Yeah. I can invite people in now. I feel safe about that. So it's and you see them glow at the end. The person you see at the beginning, the person you see on the graduation, it's not the same.
Yeah. I'm hearing the word dignity again, right? We've heard it through a couple of segments already. I mean, the dignity of choice, the dignity of, and even when you said, inviting someone into their home, if they don't feel comfortable having someone over for tea or a pizza night, then that's not the quality of life we want. We want people to have a home that they want to welcome people into.
That's right. That's right. And I think what makes this program special, as well as our peer engagement, community engagement program, peer assisted community engagement program, is the fact that it's peer led. So Chantal's here as a peer support worker, and she also works with the PACE program, which is also another program that we have that supports tenants within the communities in which they live. Same model, we engage them in every step of the process. It's peer-led, it's peer-supported, and the goal is to build those peer-to-peer supportive relationships so that they're able to build a network together and rely on one another too in cases where they might need the extra supports.
What would you say to somebody that's maybe on the edge of getting involved in the way that you've gotten involved?
No, do it. Just, it's a good, Options Bytown's a good place you want to live in. You want to live and, but also you want to work in. Because it's like, and we've heard it before, it's giving back what you received before. And because it's lived experience, that counts, and you receive money to do what you a lot of people say, it's no education, get into education. Well, life experience is worth it, and because Options Bytown, we value that. I feel valued anyway as a peer, and I've got two different jobs, and I wouldn't change anything. It's a good place. I love where I live. But I also love where I work. Yeah.
And that's the theme I'm seeing from everybody today. I love that you feel valued. I love that the work that you're doing is so valuable, but that you feel it is so important. Do you feel the same?
Yes, I think that's definitely one of our driving forces. I think one of our values is that we do cherish and value lived experience. One of our community development principles of community engagement and inclusivity and empowerment, they all are more valuable once the staff that are coming in to support our clients have that shared and lived experience. So to be able to give back and reflect that among our staff is phenomenal. It provides a relationship that's balanced and it empowers clients. It definitely supports that peer-to-peer relationship building as well.
It's easier also to get trust, to gain trust, because
Yes.
say, hey, you live in OCH? Yeah, I do. Oh, hey, you've done this before? Yes, I did. That's why I'm a peer. Not everybody can have that title, peer support worker or
Yes.
peer facilitator. So the from where they're at to where they need to go, we're in the between that makes a big difference, because sometimes they have stigma about social workers or professionals like doctors, and so it kind of calms things down and say no, they're people like you and me. It's like, okay, well, and so yeah.
I love that. Celebrating 35 years. It's incredible. Optionsbytown.com. Lots of great information there to learn more about this organization. Are you proud of the big anniversary this year?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
We've got a lot to celebrate. I think John mentioned earlier, we've grown so much. These two new programs that Chantal and I are talking about have started within the last 2 years. So we're growing, and we're continuing to listen to the clients that we work with and our tenants, and provide as many programs and services that respond to their requests and their needs as much as possible. And I don't think we're stopping soon.
How are you going to celebrate?
Hey,
How are you celebrating?
I'm going to take a big picture of me in Newfoundland with an Options Bytown T-shirt and Iceberg behind me, because I
love
want to
that.
see Iceberg. Because on the 18th of June.
It's amazing.
It's coming fast.
It's amazing. It's coming fast for sure. And it's just so wonderful to see the kind of energy you bring as well to the role. And I think the people that you're meeting that are going through this program feel that kind of positive energy from you, that there's going to be brighter days ahead. Is that how you feel? Yeah.
It's enough that there's bad days all the time, and when you're in housing, you get stigmatized. When you're poor, or you can't work, or you have mental issues or physical issues, everything is like negative. And so now it's like, no, you're important. Come in, come in, have a coffee at the coffee and chat. Do the. Let's go. We have a barbecue. Meet your neighbors. Get isolation right now is so big because after COVID, everyone wants to stay in. It's like, no, come and join us. Come and visit. Come and see who your neighbors are. So, did you know that there's this resource? Go to the resource center, or even with the, some people with ordering issues, sometimes they might lose their subsidy, or they might lose their house. So it's to give them control back so that they can, have a life like everybody else.
Like everyone else. You two are awesome. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having us.
Lots to chat about still about Options Bytown. Thank you so much for spending time with us here on An Hour to Give. I'm Sam Laprade. Stay with us, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here on An Hour to Give. And we're talking all about Options Bytown today. And Catherine Vandeline's here today. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
As the executive director of this incredible organization, how are you feeling about 35 years?
I'm really excited.
Yeah.
It's so fun to look at where Options started and where we are today. And you can't celebrate this kind of milestone without thinking about who's been there along the way and the people that have come in and out of Options Bytown as tenants and staff and volunteers, and the original small group of people that dreamed this up and where we are today. And we're still in touch with some of those folks, some of the original board members and volunteers, and it's really cool.
For sure.
It's really something to be here today.
I remember talking to you last year and you said, Sam, we have a big milestone next year. and we're here, Annie. Annie Carruthers joining us. Thanks so much for being here. Annie, what's your role with Options Bytown?
My role at Options Bytown is that I am chair of the board of directors.
Very important role.
So I've been on the Options board for 7 years now. I joined the same year Catherine joined, so I've been lucky to work with her. and I became chair 5 years ago.
Amazing. Amazing. And, you know, this connection of an ED and a chair working hand in hand. And so often we see, you know, that organizations really thrive when they've got solid leadership. That's where we're at today, right?
It is, and I often describe Annie and my relationship as co-pilots. Like we
love
just
that.
have this, you know, phenomenal relationship. We work so well together. We're in tandem. We're in sync. Annie does a lot of heavy lifting on some things that, you know, I'm focused on the organization and the internal, and Annie's back there doing, you know, a lot of the heavy lifting on things like we have a reconciliation action plan that we released in 2022 that's guiding us to meet our obligations and responsibilities with reconciliation, and Annie did a lot of the heavy lifting around that, and so it's a really great relationship to have somebody kind of, you know, walking in tandem with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we think back to 1989, you know, when this organization started, 35 years, a lot has changed. And in terms of the work you're doing around reconciliation, talk to me a little bit, Annie, about why that's such a focus right now.
The reconciliation file? Oh my gosh. It's been a really, really important initiative for us. We launched the RAP in 2022. And the reason we did it was because, you know, we aspire to be an inclusive, fair organization. And we were aware that in the Ottawa homeless population, 30% of that population is Indigenous. And that's a remarkably high number. And it's even more remarkable when you consider that the Indigenous population of Ottawa is only 10%. So there's a pretty dramatic discrepancy there, and certainly an imbalance. So we embarked upon this project, thinking, you know, on the one hand that we certainly wanted to make our services, to the extent that we can, respectful and relevant to the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in Ottawa. But we also feel very strongly that we can use our work and our reconciliation action plan as a tool to do something about that terrible imbalance in Ottawa, and to do what we can to reduce the number of Indigenous peoples that are homeless in Ottawa. The RAP, it's basically, just to promote it a bit,
Yes.
it's basically a strategic plan for the organization, and it's a plan to guide us in making sure that our organization delivers services that are appropriate and useful. It's based on a series of principles that we adopt and internalize in our dealings with Indigenous peoples. They are respect, recognition, and inclusion, and I mean they're self-explanatory, I guess. But the kind of beauty of the plan is that it also includes a really granular and tangible and measurable set of actions that we can perform as an organization to make those principles manifest.
And I think it's so important. We were speaking just before the show about really you're a leader in this. You're saying, but Sam, we're bringing other people along with us, right? This isn't just about it happening at Options Bytown. You're like, I'm reaching out to all of these groups. That's creating community. I know you know this, but I want to put a hard line on it and say that's creating community outside of Options Bytown, and you've done that beautifully.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a commitment that we made, and we keep pointing to this because this is our RAP. But it is a really tangible commitment that we made to share our path with people. Hopefully, inspires others to do similar work. We had a really great Indigenous consultant, Alan Clark. He volunteered to do this work with us and guided us along the way. So, we've been out there, Annie and I have been out there sharing and showcasing, and you met Austin in a previous segment. He's also, in addition to his full-time job, he's also our Reconciliation Action Plan steward. So he's out there doing a lot of this work and bringing a lot of the commitments to life that we said we would do.
It's wonderful. And Annie, celebrating 35 years this year of Options Bytown, lots to celebrate, lots of ways to celebrate. What do you see as the board chair? Where do you see us in 50 years? Where do you see us in 35 years? I mean, and I know it's a long time to think out, but when we think about where homelessness is right now, we think about all the pressures of the pandemic, you're needed more than ever.
Well, the easy answer to that is in 50 years, we'd like to see ourselves out of a job.
Right.
Right?
It's true.
Well, I shouldn't say that. Not necessarily out of a job. We will always be providing housing. But we would like to see the urgency around the homelessness situation in Ottawa gone. I'm sure Catherine will speak more about our plans, but 50 years from now, I would see us perhaps providing a different type of service. I mean, right now we provide a very, very focused, supportive housing model. We have limited capacity. We only have so many buildings that we can offer. I would like to see more buildings. I would like to see more opportunities to deliver the services that we deliver.
Where do you see it? Where do you see it going?
I look at the need and I look at what we offer, but we're not alone in this ecosphere of organizations doing this work, right? We have a lot of really phenomenal partners who are also doing work to end homelessness for people. We end homelessness for people. We literally do. Close to 100% of people that we work with don't return to homelessness or enter it in the first place, because we spend a lot of our work focused on homelessness prevention as well. Keeping people housed, that's the best scenario if we can avoid homelessness from even happening. So, but the need is great. 2,000 people in Ottawa last night were homeless, and that's not okay. So where I see us going, we'll continue to grow. We've grown phenomenally in these last several years. We've almost tripled our size in what we do, and really, we're a very nimble organization. We see a need, and we innovate, and we get creative, and we figure out how to meet that need. And I don't see that changing. The needs will change, but our response and our nimbleness won't. So we'll continue to build things in, like our peer work and our hoarding support work and our homelessness prevention, housing first, all of that. We'll continue to do that type of work as long as the need is out there. And my hope for the next 35 years is that all of us who do this type of work will scale to meet the need, because we know what works, right? We know that what we do permanently ends homelessness.
Absolutely.
We just need to do enough of it so that we don't have anybody out there without a home.
You must be a proud volunteer on this big milestone year.
I am so proud. I am just so excited to be part of what we're doing at Options Bytown. I really, the whole housing first model, supportive housing model, as Catherine said, it's the solution to chronic homelessness, and I'm very excited to be part of that. I do believe it's an effective model. I think Options Bytown, you've just spent an hour speaking to our staff and our clients, and you know that we're doing amazing work and getting astounding results. So yeah, it's enormous pride and excitement to continue.
For sure. I want to hear all about the big celebration. So how are we celebrating, Catherine? Options Bytown turning 35.
Yeah, so over the next 6 or 8 weeks, we're doing a fair bit of public-facing celebration. So we've been behind the scenes working for several months, refreshing our brand. We're a much larger organization, a much more mature organization. So we've been working with some folks to get a really great brand up that reflects that. We have a really great website in development that will really give people what they need when they come to see what we're about. They need support, whatever it is that they need. We'll be there and available to them. So all of that will be launched in the middle of June as we throw a 35th birthday party.
Yay.
Where, we'll include lots of the folks who've been with us over the years. And, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my own predecessor, so the woman who was at the helm of Options Bytown for 17 years before she retired and I came in. She passed away in 2022, so sadly she's not here with us to mark this milestone. But she gave 17 years of her professional life to this organization as well. Lorraine Bentley is her name. So, there are so many people along the way that brought us where we are, and so we will include as many of them as possible in our birthday party.
That's so exciting, and I'm so happy. We heard so many different perspectives today, and I think, having people with lived experience, having people that are your tenants, and having your staff, it just felt that we got so many different perspectives, and of course, both of you as well as leaders. I think it's really important that people hear firsthand from people that are actually living it as well, and that's been such a joy today to hear all about that. And let me just ask you as we're closing off. Sadly, we only have a minute. It goes by so fast.
I know.
I'd love a whole day with you. But put a word or two to people that have donated over the years. Give a little thank you to them.
Oh my gosh. Honestly, what we can do because of our donors is just incredible. Like we have our core funding to deliver what we deliver, but it's when somebody moves into their apartment, they come with almost nothing. They're coming from years of homelessness often. So we're able to put together a welcome kit, right? So they have what they need to set up their home. We can provide people when they arrive with a gift card to go get groceries because of our donors. We're in the process right now of creating plans for more buildings, and that's capital funding that we need our donors for. So, our donors make the world of difference for us. We're able to offer meals and bring people together to have meals together and build friendships and relationships, and all of that is so important to us, and those are all the pieces that we can do because of our donors.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Catherine, thank you. Thank you for your leadership. Annie, thank you as well for your leadership in terms of Options Bytown. And happy birthday, you two.
Thank you.
You look gorgeous. 35
Why,
looks
thank
good
you.
on you.
Thank you.
I'm Sam Laprade. It has been such a joy to spend time with all these wonderful representatives from Options Bytown today. I hope you get to celebrate with them 35 years. Options Bytown, it looks good on you. Thanks for joining us for An Hour to Give.